as far as being picked in the preseason poll first, it doesn't really change our expectations. It doesn't really change our way of going about things. I think it's just more indicative maybe of the previous year. You look at what we've lost on paper. It's very significant. So I think it's just a testament to what happened last year and potentially in previous years as well. Yeah, just a great experience for our program, a great experience for our players. A true testament to resiliency and hanging in there. We started out the season 3-7. Things weren't looking great, but our seniors believed, I think, the whole time that we'd get through that and we'd move through. We'd be okay. We played really good teams down in Florida, so I think that prepared us really well for what the postseason brought. And we played our best baseball at that time, and that's the thing here. You know, we believe that if we can get to the postseason, which we're confident that in most years and every year we will, the more meaningful the game, the bigger the game, we're going to play at our best. We're not going to be rattled by circumstances. We're not going to be rattled by situations, and I think that gives us a big advantage against teams that we potentially go up against, especially in a conference tournament type setting. So we just need to get there. That's the first goal every year, and then from there everybody starts out with no wins and no losses. Well, good players. I mean, you can't – coaches don't win games. Players win games. And I think that, again, the expectations here are every year to advance and be playing into May. And I think that the foundation was laid. This goes back years. You know, you got to be good before you're great. You got to be average before you're good, you know. And we've been fortunate to have some really good teams in a lot of different years. So the expectations when you get to a certain point, you're not really blown away by the situation you're in. You're not, you know, in something for the first time. I mean, it happens in increments, right? It's getting to a conference tournament in a program's infancy maybe, and then it's winning a conference tournament and getting to a regional, and then it's winning games in a regional eventually, and then maybe it's winning a regional. But to do what these guys have done, winning a regional and then a super regional, I guess, with the new format in 2 of 3 years, I think we're one of only one of four teams that have done it out of 350, 400 Division III teams, whatever it is. So it's just a testament to the hard work, the development of the players. They're the ones that do it, and they're the ones that believe it's possible. So it's as a result of their hard work and their confidence and their commitment level. I mean, it's like anything you do. You develop, and it's a lot about what's done when practices aren't going on or coaches aren't watching or things like that. And they're very committed to the entire process, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's their own personal development. It's great to see. It's why I really enjoy working with the 18 to 22-year-old age group. I mean, it's nice to see them develop and grow. What a class, you know, just a lot of ups and downs along the way. It wasn't always a smooth ride with those guys, both individually and from a team standpoint. But again, you talk about the growth of a group, the maturity of a group, just very present with that group from the time they set foot on campus to the time they left. And they really left their mark on this program with the new format, winning a regional, winning the super regional. And I think they believed it was possible the whole time. And that's part of the reason why it happened. But it's a tremendous amount to replace. We lost 72% of our at-bats from last year's team. We lost over 50% of our innings on the mound from last year's team. So it's a tremendous amount to replace. It's a huge void. I'm confident we can get to the point that we want to get to. You know, we've shown the ability as a program. Our players have shown the ability to have guys step in and step up when it's been their turn, you know, and we have a wide range of ages. Obviously, from a positional standpoint, it's very competitive this year just because of all that we lost. But people have stepped up. Now, that being said, I think this is the biggest senior group we've ever lost. In the other years, 2017 being one of them, the following year it has been a little bit of a struggle at times. So we need to grow up quick. We know we're going to catch team's best shot, but what that senior group did last year in terms of laying the foundation and leaving their mark in the program, and on the W&J campus as a whole was significant. Well, for us, it's all about throwing strikes. I mean, that's what we preach. That's our foundation. I think last year we were 6th in the country in walks per 9 innings. We've never finished below like 40th or 50th in that category. So if you're going to pitch here, for the most part, you've got to throw the ball over the plate. So that's always going to be a constant. But we've got a lot of guys, a lot of capable guys, you know, and in terms of guys that might have thrown less innings last year that now will be called upon to throw more innings. Freshmen coming into the program, guys that threw a medium amount of innings that now will be asked to be a bulldog and go out there and throw a lot of innings. So we're looking to see guys step up. I think that everybody in your program, you feel, receives opportunities to get reps from the time they set foot on campus in September until even throughout the season, the time we leave in May or June. But pitching is an area you use a lot of pitchers, so I think they get more opportunities than position players do. I mean, we're going to run 8 to 10 varsity pitchers out there to some extent at any given time, depending upon what our schedule looks like for that week or whatever. And you include JV games. I mean, it goes true for anybody, but pitchers always get opportunities. So they're going to have to carry things early on. We're going to have to throw strikes. And I think, again, when you lose as much offense as we did, it's easy to say, okay, hey, we need guys to step in and hit. To me, we need to pitch and we need to play good defense. I mean, that's going to keep us in games if we're sound in those areas, and then hopefully we can progress from an offensive standpoint as we figure out what our lineup in it is and as we get at bats. But I think the pitching staff is going to have to definitely carry things to start. Yeah, I think it's a real underrated aspect at this level. You know, you always look at, okay, who's my number one going to be? Who's my number two? Who's my number three? Well, when we went to a 2 9-inning game format a few years ago and played all 9-inning games, one of the things we set out to do was build a good bullpen as best we could, because we knew we were only going to get 5 or 6 innings out of a starter potentially, and then a bullpen would have to cover 3, 4 innings, whatever, and be effective. So what we learned from that is how important it was to have a good bullpen. Clay and Mitch were as valuable to our run last year as anybody. And I think the big thing is they really embraced that role. I don't think there's any question pitchers want to start, right? I mean, there's if you're a pitcher, you want to start a ball game, give you a chance to log the most innings, be out there the most, whatever the case might be. But we need guys to step up in those roles and embrace those roles the way they did, because that was part of the reason they had the success. They could have been potentially an elite frontline starter for us, but they embraced being thrown into that role. Yeah, they're not throwing as many innings, but they're throwing more often, and they really stepped up. So getting guys to step up in that area again is going to be critical for us. There's no doubt about it. Well, that remains to be seen. I think from a competition standpoint, we're a little bit unsure. You know, there's no doubt about it. And when the lights go on and when it counts, some guys are more apt to step up in those type of situations than others. So it's going to take us some time, I think, to see what happens from an offensive standpoint. But yeah, you have to play philosophically. You have to play to the strength of your team. You can't try to have people fit to a certain system. I think you have to adapt and adjust your system to what you do best. And I think potentially we could be fairly athletic. We could be able to do some things. We want to pressure the defense. That's true in any given year. But we're inexperienced in that area as well. Base running, hit and runs, different things like that. I mean, we kind of feel like we have to zig when everyone else is zagging. You know, baseball is kind of evolving at the professional level into a kind of a sit on your hands and wait for the 3-run homer type game. I don't think we're going to be able to play that style of baseball this year. We're going to have to be aggressive. We're going to have to run the base as well. We're going to have to call games aggressively, I think, if we have the personnel that proves they're able to do that. But it's going to be a work in progress, and it's going to take a while to kind of see. When you have a lot of inexperience, whether it be in age or whether it just be in terms of reps, maybe upperclassmen have had slumps, maybe tend to be lengthier, right? I mean, you get guys that have some experience. If they have a bad at-bat, it maybe doesn't turn into a bad game or a bad week or a bad month or whatever. You know, guys are able to kind of keep a little bit more of an even keel and kind of stay within themselves. And I think it's just as much mental as physical with where we're at now. But we know what we've seen so far in the preseason. We know we've got to improve, and we know we've got to get better. But we've also got to be pretty headstrong and pretty determined and pretty even keeled with things, whether we're succeeding or failing. I think no matter what, we can take a lot from our start last year and realize that we're never out of things, right? I mean, we scrap back in. It was pretty ugly for a while statistically, offensively, from a win-loss standpoint, but guys plugged away at it, and they put themselves in a position to be successful at the end, and we potentially might need, especially given our non-conference schedule, some of the same type things to happen again this year. Well, I want to see us compete better the first quarter of the season. You go out and play good teams. Things may work out, they may not work out, but I think you need to take the field and be competitive. I don't think we were as competitive as we could have been those first 10 games last year. If you're competitive and it doesn't work out for you on the scoreboard, we can live with that, right? But we've got to, I think, have a little bit more of a sense of urgency for those games early on, both obviously starting the season out here at home for 4, but then especially as we get down into Florida. We know with where we're at as a program, we're going to catch teams' best shot, whether it's outside of the conference, in the conference, whatever the case is. And we've got to be prepared to handle that, right? We've got to, if we get punched in the mouth, we've got to be ready to punch back, or we've got to throw that first punch, whatever it is. So it's going to be a challenge. Teams are eager to play us, just like we're eager to play good competition. I think it just shows where you're at. We don't want any illusions about things when we leave Florida. We want to know where we're at as a program and where some individuals are at. So I think that's the goal, the first 10 to 12 games of the season, to truly know where we're at. We're not, philosophically, we're not going to go out. We're not trying to build confidence by stacking wins maybe and playing lesser competition. We're going to go out and play as good at programs as we can that we feel can help us and put us in the best position as the months turn, because, again, we're very confident, given our history, that if we can get into meaningful games in April and May, we have a huge advantage over the teams that we're competing against at that point. Again, this year more than ever, it's going to be wide open. I mean, if I'm another program in the PAC, I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, W&J lost 72% of their at bats and 53% of their innings. I mean, this is the gate is open, right? The door is open a little bit. But one of the things that stands out to me, I think, and again, this is probably true every year, but the top flight pitching, I think, that a lot of teams bring back from guys that were successful last year, starts with Waynesburg with Mason Miller, obviously, and St. Vincent has Malone and Jones. Teal has Carducci. Bethany has Wangert. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, there's some really good elite frontline arms. I think all the teams, Grove City, obviously, as good as they are with Pry and Newby. I mean, those two are as good as what we saw last year from a stuff standpoint. So I think it starts with that. And we know that teams are going to be more confident with their frontline guys on the mound. I think, again, we get into a situation where the depth gets more tested and we have to use more guys. I think the advantage swings to us. So, again, that's why it's important when a series lengthens, when you get into a conference tournament type setting and you're playing all 9-inning games and you're playing a lot of games in a short amount of time, your depth and your pitching is tested. So I think that we have an advantage there. But the improvements across the league, I mean, you look at what Coach Thomas did at Bethany last year, just instantly improving them. Grove City's been good ever since Coach Royer got here. I mean, they've been good the whole time. Coach Cannon coming in at Chatham is going to be something. I mean, Seton Hill is as good a program as there is at any level around. So, he's going to bring that wisdom and expertise. But every year, I don't know how the preseason poll shakes down, but every year there's always a team that comes out of nowhere. Last year probably being Bethany, and obviously it'll be a little bit different for them being expected to win now. How do you handle that? But there's always teams that come out of nowhere, and I think it's going to be who executes the best and who plays the best at the right time. And as always with baseball, who gets the breaks too. There is a lot of that involved and an element of that. So it'll be interesting. We know we have great challenges this year, especially given the strength of the programs in the league and what they bring back. And it's going to be a challenge. It's since 2012, the last time a team outside of W&J and Thomas More has won the conference tournament, it's 2012. To me, this is on paper the most vulnerable. Obviously, Thomas More is not in the league, but this is the most vulnerable we've been since that time. So I would assume that other programs are kind of hanging their hat on that and believe they have a chance to break through this year. But we believe that if we can get to meaningful times and pressure situations, we'll be good.